Welcome back to our video series for the complete guide to Next.js and Prepr. This video is part 2 in the series. In part 1, we created a simple Next.js project with static components. In this video, I'll show you how to make your project dynamic by connecting it to Prepr CMS to retrieve and show some demo content. So if you're following along with this series, take a look at what your website will look like at the end of this video. And once again, before diving in, take note that you can find all the instructions from this video, as well as all the code that we use and a link to the GitHub repository in Prepr Docs. Let's get started. I'm back in my code editor and my local host is still running. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the server by doing a Control-C. Once that's done, what I'd want to do in this step is to install the Apollo client. The Apollo client is a GraphQL integration tool, and it helps us to make requests to Prepr CMS so that we can retrieve the content using the GraphQL API in Prepr. We're going to create a file to use the Apollo client, and we are calling this the Apollo client. And you'll notice in the Apollo client file, we need an API URL. So we are referencing the Prepr GraphQL URL from a .env. It's an environment variable. So we need to create that environment variable. Let's do that by creating our .env file and then setting a value for the API URL. So when you copy this value from the docs, you'll see that we put in a placeholder. We need to get this value. So you need to get it from your Prepr environment by going to Settings, Access Tokens. We'll use the production access token for now, and simply copy the API URL and paste it into your .env file. Great. Once that's done, we just need to make sure that everything is still okay with our project. Your Apollo client is installed and set up, ready to connect to Prepr CMS. Before we get into the next step, you might remember that in part 1, when you installed the Next.js project, we chose the option TypeScript. So we're using TypeScript in our project instead of JavaScript. And to make life easier and to make sure our TypeScript objects are all correct, we're going to install a code generator to generate TypeScript type documents for us. So let's do that. Install code generator with these commands. And I'm going to choose application built with React as the option. And the URL for your schema is basically the same access token URL that you copied from Prepr. And once that's done, we need to make an update. You'll notice that a new file called codegen.js has been created. Okay, good. Once you've done your updates, let's double check that we have done things correctly and that there are no errors in our project when we run it. Now that the code generator is installed and ready, let's look at the content that we want to retrieve in Prepr. So when you go to your Prepr environment, you'll see in the demo content and in the home page, I have 2 sections. Those are the sections I like to retrieve in the page. So I'll create a query in a queries folder. For now, I'm creating one query called get page by slug, and it's doing exactly that. It's getting a page content item using a slug value as a parameter. Fragments are useful for usability to streamline your queries, especially when you're fetching a lot of data. Your query is ready. Let's first run the code generator. And once that's done, you'll see a new folder and files being created automatically. And those are your TypeScript documents being generated by the code generator. Now we are ready to actually run the query And you do that by going to the page. And in your page, you want to include the objects so that you can run the query for this page. Refreshing our page so that we can see the results in the terminal. And we have it, the query is being run correctly and we are able to retrieve the home page. All we need to do now is map some values to our page and the page components. So let's first look at the components that we want to map to. It's time now to actually map some dynamic values from Prepr. So go to your components in the header section and we're going to import some elements. Once you've imported the elements that you want to include, you can now replace some fixed values. So for example, replacing the title with a value from Prepr instead of a hard-coded value. So once you've updated your components, we're not there yet. You'll notice that we now have compilation errors in our page. So we need to fix the compilation errors. The page. So remember, we printed out the value into the terminal. We can now replace that because we've got the data. And I want to map the elements from the page to my components. And in Prepr, we use a field called the stack field to contain the elements for pages especially. Now, when you refresh your home page, you will see data coming from Prepr. Great job. So we've reached the end of part 2. And if you followed along with the video, I trust that you were successful in getting your Acme List website up and running with content from Prepr. This is only part 2. We have another part coming up and we will further expand the website. So in part 3, the goal is to collect some data in the website, some visitor data, and this data collection is an essential step to prepare for implementing A/B testing and personalization, which comes later in the series. And once again, another reminder, you can find all the instructions and the code snippets in Prepr docs.